Hey guys, I've got this get up, and in a little bit here, I'll put this on my head and try to demonstrate from first person's perspective some of the things I'm talking about. Pretty simple stuff. I just want to talk about adjusting banks when they're not on whatever bank line, whatever aiming system or method, or whatever you come up with. How to adjust. And let me put this down, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. So, for example, today here in southern Indiana, it's pretty humid. It's actually getting ready to storm outside. The humidity's gone up quite a bit today. So a lot of banks that would go a certain way are now coming up short. One of the banks that I use a lot is on this line from the fifth diamond up to the second diamond up. Hit at firm speed with no side spin. It's a pretty darn reliable bank. But today, this bank has been coming up short like that a lot, and that's because of the humidity. And that's what gave me the idea to turn on the camera. So, do I want to come up with a whole new system or method to try to figure out how to bank them all like this, or do I just want to make a small adjustment to the way I've been shooting? Remember, I said shoot this at firm speed with no side spin, and it's coming up short. I need to lengthen it out. There's ways I can do that. One way would be shoot it softer. Shoot it softer. And it'll lengthen out. Another way might be put some draw on the ball. I lengthened it out too much in that case. But, well, I did lengthen it out. The way I usually prefer, if I just have a very small discrepancy, like the humidity down here, is I usually prefer to lengthen this shot out by putting a little bit of outside English on it. A little bit of right English on the shot. And I can still kind of hit it full in the face, still hit it at my firm speed, but I prefer and shoot it like that. To lengthen the shot out. You can do one or more than one. It depends on the situation and the shooter and all that. One of the things that I keep trying to stress to just about anybody that will listen is that there's no aiming system, aiming method, whatever you want to call it. There's not a single one out there in the universe. If a shot is more complicated than shooting this 7 straight in the pocket with no side spin, every aiming system out there on any shot more complicated than that is an approximation. Some are better than others. These aiming systems and stuff, they don't take into account speed, which is very important for banks. They don't take in spin, which is very important for banks. They don't take in cut induced throw, which is important for both. They don't take that stuff into account. They don't take anything like that into account. It's all an approximation. And I'm not saying that means throw them all in the trash. They're all useless. They're not. They're starting points. They're approximations. They're starting points. That's what the way I learned how to bank, I don't know whether to call it like the 40% system or the 4/10 or whatever, but that 5 to 20 right there that I talked about, that's part of that. 3 to 12 would be, I will do a video about this with the headcam. I just don't think it's going to be this video tonight. But if I want to line this shot here up, 3 diamonds for 1.2 diamonds, even though it's been humid down here tonight, sometimes this shot's still been going in. No, not quite. Still coming up a little bit short. The humidity. I know this shot is very reliable for me normally. Down here on this table, blah, blah, blah. Every player's going to be different. The shots that I'm having come up short this evening You know, another player with another cue, another stroke, they may just be drilling the center of the pocket every time. Everybody's different. I want to lengthen the shot out that I just did. From 3 to 12, it's the same thing. You're going to do the exact same thing. Ways to lengthen it out. Hit it a little bit softer, hit it with a little bit of bottom, hit it with a little bit of right English, outside English in this case. I want to shorten it up. That would be a case where it's drier than you're used to. Say you live in Atlantis or New Orleans, or Houston, heck, and it's really humid all the time. I mean, you go to a tournament in Phoenix, Arizona, and to you, all your banks, all of a sudden, your inner pool player knows how to bank the shot, but they're all coming along. They're all coming along. You don't want to have to learn a whole new system. So, well, maybe you do. I would not want to learn a whole new system. I would want to just, okay, how do I get this shot to shorten up a little bit? Keeps coming here. I want it to go here. How do I get to shorten up? I'm going to set this cue ball here so it's not on the line anymore. So down here in this table tonight, this shot is going to go long. Just hit it firm speed with no side spin. It's going to go quite a bit long. I might have moved the cue ball a little too much. But to shorten it up, I can hit it softer. No, I can hit it harder. I can hit it with a little bit of inside side spin, which is left banks in this case. And in some cases, I can hit it with top. So the exact opposite of when I was trying to lengthen the ball out, the exact opposite works for shortening it. Sometimes hitting the 8 like this with top won't be good enough because the 8's still going to pick up some forward roll on its way up here. But let's say the 8's on the same line, but it's like here now. I can absolutely shorten this bank up with top. I can hit the same speed that I have been hitting it, just with top. 8's going to slide into that rail, and the top helps it to shorten up. Shoot the same thing, the same way. I want to shorten this bank up by hitting it hard. I usually hit banks pretty firm anyway, but I don't hit them at my top speed. See, I want to hit this even harder than normal for me. Shortens up. Want to hit it. Remember, these are lined up to go long, so I'm making that adjustment. I can put a little bit. I usually would do like bottom left, not just left. I'm not totally sure why. I think it's just habit. Shorten it up too much. There is no secret of pool. So tonight, even though I prefer to use English on those little adjustments, I prefer to use side spin to make my adjustments. If I was in a tournament and I had my warm-up match and I've tried a couple shots like this and tried to adjust it with side spin and saw that no, it just wasn't working, it wasn't consistent for me. But I had noticed that adding some speed I'd probably be wanting to be adding speed. So I have 3 different ways to lengthen a bank out, 3 different ways to shorten a bank. And if none of those work, if no combination of any of those work, then maybe it's just my fault and I just suck. Which is, I don't know if I want to say perfectly understandable because I've been playing 40 years. But it's got to be acceptable because there is. I'm going to stop this brief video and then I got to put on the get-up, the camera. So this is the situation where I'm lined up from the 5th diamond to the 2nd diamond. This shot is usually pretty wired for me. Tonight it's not. The way that, I don't know, I can think of these a little bit more quickly is Obviously, 2 diamonds, well, even obviously, 2 diamonds is 40% of 5 diamonds. To me, that kind of math, when I'm in the heat of the moment, is not something that I really feel like doing. What I typically will do is I will count this rail, the origin rail, I guess I could call it, in increments of 1. So 1 diamond, 2 diamonds, 3 diamonds, 4 diamonds, 5 diamonds. I will count this rail, the destination rail, I suppose, in increments of 10. And then all I have to do is multiply anything on this first rail times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. That's right there. If I was up here, this would be the 6th diamond. 6 times 4 is 24. That'd be approximately right there. A ball on that line would be good for me. 3 times 4, so 3rd diamond times 4 is 12, which is about right there. And that's what I would just do. Balls aren't going to be lined up on these lines exactly, usually. But if it's close, you know, experience and judgment and all that comes into play. This ball is over here. I look at this shot and I go, well, that's not quite on the 520 line. That's not on the 4 to 16 line. It's somewhere in the middle, so shoot it somewhere in the middle. It's all about approximation and feel and experience and things like that. What I was talking about before I put this thing on my head, though, was tonight, this shot, even though it's pretty wide for me normally, if I shoot this shot my regular way, no side spin and firm speed, it will typically come up short tonight. If it's less humid, it's probably going to go right in the hole, or I wouldn't be using it as one of my, standard shots to test a table. If I want to lengthen this out, which I do because I want it to go in, I can do it 3 different ways. One way would be a little bit of bottom, which I demonstrated before. One would be softer, which I demonstrated before. And then I said, or a little bit of outside English. That's my preference on this shot. And I just want to just use the head cam here to show what I mean when I say a little bit of English. So this is on the vertical axis, as near as I can tell. As near as my old eyes can tell, that's no side spin. A little bit is like that. The left edge of my shaft and ferrule is on that vertical axis. And that may even be too much. In that case, it wasn't. I went in. So just like was happening before I put the head cam on, I can lengthen these shots out with English fairly reliably. But the one I was doing, I think it was from 3 to 12. It was also coming up short, but I was trying to simulate if you're like in a really dry area. So I moved the cue ball like this. So while 3 to 12 is a good bank normally, I'm pretending that everything's coming along, which is why I'm over here. And I wanted to shorten it up. I can shorten it up with speed, which I showed. I can shorten it up sometimes with follow, especially if the object ball is a lot closer to the rail. I can shorten it up with follow. And I was trying to get a little bit of inside English to work and not having any success with that. But it would be the same concept. So this is on the vertical axis, as near as my old eyes can tell. And I want to use a little bit of left. So now the right edge of my shaft is on that vertical axis. I'm having a really hard time getting that ball to shorten up enough tonight. Down here are these humidity conditions and all that stuff. And that's perfectly fine. I have to put a little bit more side spin on it. These are just the kind of things that, you learn, and the better players can pick up on those little things more quickly. That's why they're the better players. No matter what system they're using or whatever, every table is not going to be the same. Every place is not the same. Every set of balls is not the same. You're going to have to make adjustments. And the better players figure out those adjustments and get them to work much more quickly. So I hope that this camera is working and stuff is in frame. It's turned out to be quite a pain to have this on my head and have everything in frame. Because sometimes I'll think it's perfectly fine, but all you see is this. And this is not particularly useful. Or all you see is this. And this is not particularly useful. I try to keep it so you can actually see the shot I'm shooting. We'll see. So that's it. Go back to the main camera now. GoPro, stop recording. I'm watching the first parts of this video, and I'm pretty disappointed in the head cam alignment. It didn't go low enough a lot of times. I'm not going to reshoot the whole thing because it's a pain. It's a pain in the ass to go through all that and think you have it aligned and it's not aligned. The other thing I didn't talk about, and frankly I just didn't think about it, maybe because it's too obvious, maybe because it's outside of the scope of what I wanted this video to be, was when I talked about adjusting banks. For example, I use this 5 to 20 line, and I would say, hey, they're coming up short tonight, the humidity conditions and all that. This bank, which is normally pretty dead for me, is coming up short. How do I adjust it? I showed ways to adjust it, but I forgot one. Let's just cut the ball. Don't shoot it straight on anymore. Whether you shoot it with draw or with side spin or softer, whatever. If I want to lengthen this ball out, another way to do it is instead of shooting it head on right at the second diamond, just go down that way towards the camera. I don't know, a half an inch. It's again, we talk about feel and experience and things like that. So in this case, I just cut the ball. I didn't cut it enough. Or I hit it bad. I think actually that one I might have just hit bad. Old habits might have kicked in and I might have hit it straight at that second diamond by accident. This time, cut the ball. No side spin. I could put side spin, change my speed, put draw on it. I could do all these things, but I could also include cutting the ball. To lengthen it out, cut it. In this case, to my left, more towards the camera. Going a little too much. I typically don't like to do adjustments on banks that are close, really on shots that are close, by changing the cut angle. But a lot of people have a lot of success doing that. I usually have more success by putting a little bit of inside or outside side spin on the shots, or varying the speed. But usually for me, I just put a little bit of side spin on. On this other example that I was trying to do, where everything is coming up long, it was about like this. Everything's coming up long and I want to shorten it, hit it harder. Put some side spin on it. Maybe put some follow on. I can also cut the ball. Cut it to my right in this case. I want it to shorten up. So instead of shooting it right there, going about an inch my way, away from the camera in this case. A shot like this, you have to worry a little bit about the kiss. You don't want the cue ball to be drifting around down here when the 15 is trying to come back in. Again, I kind of get tired of saying experience and all that, but they are relevant. So no side spin, firm speed. I'm going to cut it to my right. I think you get the picture. I don't know if I want to keep shooting this shot forever. Probably should. Keep shooting it forever. What's that saying about amateurs will shoot a shot until they make it, and professionals will shoot a shot until they can't miss it? That is an exaggeration. Professionals miss shots all the damn time, just not as often as people like me. Well, again, I don't like to change things that are close by changing the cut a little bit. It may be a vision thing where my eyes don't see that very slight change in the angle very well. Because a lot of people will do that before they'll use side spin. They'll cut it before they'll use side spin. They'll change the speed before they'll use side spin. My preference is to use side spin, but no way am I saying that's the right way to do it. I'm saying that's the right way for me to do it. Okay, that's going to be it for this video. Hope I clarified a little bit. Maybe I didn't, but at least I tried. Thanks, guys.